This video was actually filmed way back in May, and I originally wasn't planning on publishing it because it didn't really fit in with my schedule. But a couple of weeks after this competition, Bella's eye condition, very unfortunately, had quite a major flare-up, and I decided the best thing was to retire her. So this ended up being my very last event with her. So I really wanted to share this video with you guys because she is awesome and you'll be able to see how wonderful she was. So I hope you enjoy the video, and I'm very sorry my vlogs are not in order. Good morning everybody. Today we are off eventing, Bella, Jimmy and I, at Barbury Castle. Bella is going to be doing the 90 and Jimmy the 80. It has been a very odd start to the season. So this is actually one of their first runs, despite it being like end of May. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to how we get on. Jimmy is a confidence outing, so he is still particularly unconfident cross country and big open spaces. Bella has had her unfortunate eye condition problems earlier this year, so for her it's just about getting out, seeing how she is and where she's at with her confidence, and hopefully having a really positive, enjoyable outing for her that kind of gets her mojo back. It is the most beautiful morning and my horses have zero interest in coming in. Zen. Can't just go across my... I fear it looks like we're headed for another extremely hot day. I also am very conscious that every time recently I've picked up my camera to film, we've had the most beautiful weather in the UK. Now that I come to think of it, I think it's literally been the last like 6 or 7 videos that have just been beautiful weather. Okay, I've got 2 saddles, 3 bridles, plaiting kit, stud kit I know I've packed, feeds I've packed. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. Courses are looking very nice, and hopefully will help build confidence, but obviously there's a lot of things that go into that. Okay, Bella's test, and there was a lot to like about this. She's extremely rhythmic and swingy and flowing and very harmonious, really. So that was really nice. But just to draw your attention to some issues, right there you can see, and this is something you'll now pick up the whole way through the test, that she is really quite on that inside shoulder. She's not very laterally supple at this point in her work. And there in the downwards transition, she just struggles a little bit. I struggle to get her to sit really into the transition. We have that jolt into the walk and then she comes off the aids, but that's okay. This canter transition was poorly prepared. I did an okay job by sea, sort of gathering the trot a bit, but then I let it kind of splurge out the front end into the canter. And as a result, you can see this canter's a little bit brittle if I'm being very critical. And there you can see there's a tilt in her pole just around the turn there. And that reflects that the bend isn't really through her whole body. And again, you can see it from her being on the inside shoulder. So there she's tilting at the pole and the bend is actually counterbent there, which is a little bit to do with the balance, losing the balance on that ground. But that's okay, and it was a very nice, harmonious transition down to the trot. And then this is some really nice trot work here. Now, she could be a little bit more collected, but for eventing I'm not so fussed. And there you see that similarly with the walk transition down, I don't really get her seated and stepping down, and we have a bit of a sort of splurge out the front end into the walk. Pickup was very nice though, and this canter transition you don't see, but it was much better than the first. And what's interesting is it comes out the other side as a much nicer canter circle afterwards. I mean, the transition is everything. It sets up the canter work, doesn't it? But again, still on that inside shoulder there, slight, you can just see through the pole, there's a bit of stiffness, and the whole bend just isn't really through her whole body. But that's something I'm just working on with her at home. Now, an interesting thing, if you see there, my hands are actually crossing the neck. If a rider's hands are crossing the neck, it's a very good sign the horse is not upright off that inside leg, either because the rider's not using their aids well or because the horse is stiff. But that's okay. I just thought it was worth highlighting because you might notice it now, and it's just a good pointer. Halt was okay, a bit out behind, but otherwise a nice test. I thought that was a really rather nice test and a good way to start the day. Look at him, he's fast asleep. I was not on my best show jumping form this day, so please be kind about it. But Bella was very cheerful and very keen. I just think I could have had a bit more punch and a bit more sort of attack. You'll see that, I mean, there, for example, I just kind of dribbled into it. I didn't really help her with a deeper stride, or actually I probably should have kicked her forward for a more open stride. And again there, we're a bit deep and I just sort of didn't really deal with it very well. So yeah, really I think if she'd been a little bit more, if I put a little bit more room into the engine, and there we're getting a bit more forward and it comes out a lot better. It's such a fine balance between sort of looking for that relaxation in the horse and then flipping to not having enough energy, and I think it's something that is constantly a struggle for me and something I'm working on. But the key thing is I got a very happy, cheerful horse, and it was just the one pole. I'm going to try not to talk too much through this cross country, but I'll just interject with occasional little comments. First of all, I think at the start I was riding a little bit, I mean that was very nice, but there's definitely a little bit of tentativeness from me as I'm just trying to get an idea of how she's going. My plan very much was to just go a bit steady at the start just to see how things are, but I could have put my boots on a bit more and had a bit more confidence in us as a pair. Again, I think here you see with a little bit of a deep stride, you want a deep stride if you're jumping on a downward slope anyway, but I think I could just support her a little bit more there. And I think that same issue comes up now at the next jump. I mean, look how cheerful and forward she is, but here I just should have supported her a bit more. I think I thought about going on an open stride and just doubted it, but it worked out absolutely fine. So really from that jump onwards, she just gets into her stride, and yeah, you'll see it's just such a amazingly cheerful, happy, confidence giving round. One of the issues I've had with Bella over the years has been struggling to bring her back from a more open forward canter. She has a tendency to sort of plough down on the forehand. But you know, I mean, I do think that coming into that jump just was a testament to the work we've done over the years, because she was so light in that transition back to a more collected canter, and yeah, I barely had to pull at all. In fact, I didn't. I just brought my shoulders back and she lifted her forehand and slowed up for me, which is the goal for cross country. You know, that is my goal for the horses, is that I do nothing. I just shift my weight and they're that responsive. But it's a nice ideal, isn't it? was really nice again. Didn't have to do much at all. She just kind of took the wheel. So yeah, I am very sad that this is, so to say, the last run for Bella, but I mean, it's the right decision for her, and what a way to have finished with her being that happy and cheerful. It wasn't the original plan, but hopefully this wonderful, beautiful mare will bring all of that enthusiasm and sort of love for life into her working equitation career. That was spot on, exactly what I'd been hoping for Bella. It was just like going around out for a nice hack. Everything was in her rhythm. Yeah, really lovely.
We're going to be absolutely in the sun in a minute.
Oh, that's blown straight into my face. Maybe we'll just go no jacket. Quite a bright eye-catching belt on. And actually I'm not in a white shirt. Yeah, I think so, don't you? I am colourful. So I don't have many expectations for the dressage for Jim Jam. All I would like is for him to be calm, confident, relaxed, and I really have been working at home with getting him more there in the contact in terms of a bit more weight. So if he's really reaching into the contact as much as possible, that's going to be mission accomplished. Now Jim Jam is the polar opposite of Bella because Bella tends to lean on the hand as a sort of bit of an evasion for really sitting behind, whereas Jim Jam tends to be very light in the contact and really struggle to reach. So that's really kind of my goal, and you know, there's definitely it's a long way off being perfect is the long shot, but actually, you know, this little horse is looking not too bad at all. He's fairly swinging with his trot. He's got a long way to go in terms of before he can really sit and start pushing them all behind. But most of all, he's fairly calm, which is quite nice. That canter, bearing in mind this is from several months ago and we've done a lot of work on the canter since, but you know, that canter for where he was at the time was really not bad. I would like to see him a little bit straighter. He is crooked to the inside. It is better now, but again, that downwards transition can be very problematic when he loses balance, but there he did a really nice job and stayed very calm and with me. And walk transition a little tentative. And then I'm going to save you the walk, but upwards transition very sweet and obedient, perhaps a little late. A lot of the work from the training diaries, if you've seen any of them, have focused on getting him to push a little bit more behind, and that's sort of what's lacking there. He's a little bit stiff behind and he's not really pushing and stepping under, but that's okay. And you see sometimes I lose the quarters where he's a bit stiff and he sort of turns like a plank instead of really flexing through his ribs and his whole body in the turn. My hands, if you see there, are a little bit down and a little bit backwards, especially that inside. And that is me, it's sort of a bit of a habit for Jimmy, but it's really me trying to compensate for our work by going to the hand instead of just accepting that there's some issues with where we are at the moment. Very sweet transition, a little bit of loss of balance in the run up to it, but that's okay. So yeah, I think when he's reaching more into the contact, and we know that's something I'm working on, I'll feel less inclined to do stupid little things with my hands, which is no excuse for me doing stupid little things with my hands. That's not a good thing to do regardless. Downwards transition a bit early, but I accepted that because he was losing balance, and I actually think that a horse that loses balance is a horse that losing balance is stressful for a horse. So I'd rather take the hit and transition early than lose the balance and upset him through that, just for where he is at the moment. And that centerline was a little bit tentative, but on the whole, a very good step forward in that test. This sophisticated lunch. Want some water? So fancy. Yeah, please, thank you. So cute. So Jim Jam in the jumping phases can often be a bit worried about his environment and just lacking in self-confidence in that. So for me, the key thing is I want him to feel relaxed and happy in his environment as best as possible. Yeah, that kind of comes a lot down to how I ride him and whether I give him confidence. So the way I describe this is it's like Jim Jam's just holding his breath a bit. And you can see there's moments like there coming into that where he had a little bit of spook and a little bit of tension, and I just like him to soften through his whole body and start breathing a bit and just feel confident. But I mean, that will come with time and with a bit of work at home. Again, I was a little bit tentative in this round. Now coming into this, I just felt his eye was beyond the jump instead of on the jump, which again reflects a lack of confidence. So that's why he had that one down. But again, I think I could have been a little bit less tentative overall in this round. But it's a bit difficult, I think, when you're sort of managing more than just the jumps. And there you saw he hung to the right where he was looking a bit at the banners. Very nice jump over that one. And a nice jump over this one as well. It's just all a work in progress. And, you know, he's got a lot of potential. He just needs time. Ignore my chin. Ignore my hat line. But I know we had a couple of polls, but I was really, really pleased with Jim Jam, and I thought he did really well. And actually the polls had very little to do with the jumps and much more to do with like the environment. So yeah, and it got better as we went along. So very pleased, and it's getting there. He just needs more experience. Jimmy jumped number 1 very nicely, but number 2 was not the most comfortable. However, once he hopped over number 2, which just required a bit more leg, he did start to build a little bit of confidence. That said, I would like my horses to start off as they mean to go on rather than have that bit of lack of confidence at the start. Worth just keeping an eye on his ears, because a lot of the time in this round they're very much fixed forward, and that just reflects that he's not entirely confident and listening back to me.
Clear there for Isla Phillimore and Mary
Spook,
Starr.
bit of a spook just there.
On their dressage score of
So I just had to get a bit stuck in. Again, I'd rather not have to get stuck in. It just shows a gap, you know, a slight gap in our training where we're at the moment. However, here he caught onto the log and he was like, "Yeah, we're off." So that was very nice. Again, a little bit cautious coming into that one. And I think what's really cool, even though I'm going slowly in this round, you can just see how epic his gallop's going to be. I mean, he is a thoroughbred, but I just look at this and I go, once I get to a point where I can put the boots on, I can just see how that's going to just massively increase its amplitude. And he's very rhythmic, which is so key. It's so crucial they're rhythmic, and he's going to be able to keep that rhythm in the gallop. Bit tentative here. It's supposed to be 2 strides, but I planned to wait for the 3, provided he wasn't really, if he was very confident and forward, I would have gone for the 2, but I knew that it was likely we were going to take the 3, because at this height I would much rather give him time and really sort of help him through instead of try and push for the perfect stride and the perfect way to ride through combinations. So coming into this water, you can see I'm quite a bit inclined to push him. I think I would like to be a bit less on his case there. I think in the heat of the moment, sometimes it's a bit difficult just to give them a bit more time and let them think it through instead of hassling them into a water or whatever. It's such a difficult balance between overriding and underriding. It's really easy on a more experienced horse just to let them flow through and work on their own, but with a younger horse I find it so hard to either not interfere too much or to give them enough support. But yeah, he's just got to build a bit more experience and start building that confidence a bit more. I actually think if event that came after this, so my last eventing vlog, which was actually after this video, you can see that he is more confident, he's less tense and a bit less spooky, but it's an ongoing thing we've just got to work through and resolve. That was really nice. That was a corner combination and he just flowed through it. And you can see how much more confidence he does gain as this round goes on. Here the poles started to drop a bit, which tells me that he's starting to relax a bit more through his body and just start to feel a bit happier and a bit less like he has to be rigidly looking around him. And then he has a really nice jump over this one to finish. Or it was his second last, but still. So there was progress through that round. It's just trying to start. I want to be able to start as I finish before he's really ready to move on. So Jim Jam was spot on. I am so pleased with him. He got much more confident as we went along, which was exactly what we wanted. And yeah, by the end he was really going in his stride. No, no. So that's us wrapped up for the day. Bella ended up coming 7th, just with that one pole and the clear cross country, but she had about 3 time faults for going too fast, which surprised me a little bit because it felt very leisurely, but obviously she covers the ground really well. And Jimmy ended up getting 10 time faults for going too slowly, which doesn't really surprise me, although it does show just how slowly we were going. But none of that matters because at the end of the day, mission completely accomplished in my view. Both horses definitely came back feeling more confident and like they had a lovely time, and like it was all just like a no drama day for the most part. Obviously places to work on, but just generally very pleased with today and looking forward to the next outing. I will see you all in my next training diary, which should be coming out next week.